Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Gentle Dreams Outdoors and I'm Mike. Okay, so today I'm dealing with a problem that I kind of had before. So I had an issue where my belt was slipping slightly at the dunes. It would still pull the hills just fine. The RPMs would stay in there about where they should be. The only issue is you would just get a little hint of warm belt smell. Not like anything that my friends have ever, they don't smell anything or they smell a burned belt. So just, it's just getting a little hot, a little bit of slippage. So that was when I went through everything. I tore this spider nut down, tore the thing all apart, put it all back together. Did not notice any issue with the difference in the spider nut. Once I took it off, put it back on, I took some measurements in there, but I was also told you don't really know and just you gotta tear it apart and put it back together. So did not notice a change on that, so I don't know that that was my issue back then. My spacing was just a hair off, and I checked that using this tool that I bought from HunterWorks. And you just take this and you put it on the shafts, and if everything's right, it'll slide right on because this is the exact spacing. If your spacing is not right, when you have it on the transmission shaft, it won't go onto the engine shaft. Is that the right way? Yeah. So I was off just a hair. I mean, literally a hair. Maybe not literally. Anyway, it was off very little. So I adjusted that, and I did a little research about the motor plates that put pressure in there. It's like, I don't want to have this problem again. And after talking to several people about it, they said normally you adjust that and you put it back together and it's not an issue. If you do a lot of jumping, a lot of big whoops, G-outs, stuff like that, the engine and transmission where they come together can move because it's held at the front, the back, and nothing in the middle. They're just bolted together. So I should have done it then, but I was convinced that it's not normal that you need this. So I bought this. You can buy it from SDI Direct or you can buy it from HunterWorks. I'm trying to show you this. There we go. Come on now. There we go. So it's SDI. And this plate has a knurled back on it. It's got all these bolts and these set screws. So part of the bolts that are holding everything together between the engine and transmission, this goes in that location, and this puts a lot of extra pressure on that. So you're not just counting on this little tiny bolt squeezing things together here and here and here and here, but you're also counting this whole thing pushing on it across the area to help hold it. And they say a lot of racing testing, and supposedly they work great. So I'm going to throw that on there because when I came back from the dunes this time thinking, okay, did my engine and transmission move again? I went and slid that piece on there, and sure enough, it was off more than it was the first time. So I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to put this on, and I went ahead and bought this spacer. This is from HunterWorks. This is thicker than the blue washer that comes from Polaris in there, and it limits your top speed just a hair. He says it might take 1 or 2 miles an hour off your top speed. If that makes it where I don't have an issue with the belt, gladly give that up. Just it makes it so that the travel doesn't go quite as far, because I don't see any evidence of the belt getting down into this rolled area on the secondary, but since it's apart, I was already ordering something anyway. It's not a very expensive part. I figure it's safe insurance. I'll go ahead and throw it in there. So this is all a part for cleaning and inspection. I see nothing wrong with it. So I'll finish cleaning that. I'll put that washer in it, put that back together. I gotta go tear all that apart, and we'll install this here. And as we get into that process, I will show you a little bit about how that goes on there and how that little spacing tool works also, if you have not seen the previous video that showed that. It was months ago. But anyway, here we go. We'll get tearing into this. Yeah, let's do that. I'll get tearing into this. Okay, so if you see my previous video, you've seen me do this before, but if not, this piece right here slides over the shaft, and it should slide over this also. And I don't know how well it'll show up in the camera, but you can see there's a little bit of gap. Well, I can see. You might be able to see it. A little bit of gap right there. That means these are just a little bit too close together. Need to spread apart. Because this piece here, this is machined to fit this, and the other end is machined with this taper on it. So you take this and you just slide that on there, and when it's right, it'll slide on both of them real easy. Goes on about, I don't remember what it is, 3/4 to 7/8 of the way up into this. It doesn't go completely flush on this one. I think it's on 900s that they do. But that tells me that it is off a hair, and it was not off before. So I'll get that back where it goes. You got to loosen all the bolts and all the mounts and all that. Get that where it belongs, and then tighten it all up, put that plate on. So if for nothing else, peace of mind that that's not my problem. So you gotta take these 6 bolts out here. 7 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 7. And you gotta unhook this hose up here, and you gotta unhook these. They're clipped on here, and it seems like there was one other hose. So there's a little bit of wrestling around in there, but it's not horrible. You just got to get in and do it. Can you tell the difference between area that you can get to and clean with the pressure washer and areas that you couldn't quite get to? A little muddy back there. So this is interesting. It looks like my spring is kissing the... Oh wow, it's actually dented. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that, see what's going on there. It's not loose. Huh. Yeah, I just noticed the coating is missing from the spring right there. And then when I fill that, there's a little flat spot that goes up about, oh, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch. So that thing's got a little side movement happening at some point. Well, that's less than ideal. Okay, well, I guess I'll do a little research on that. I'll probably check with shock therapy on that. They'll say, you need new springs, because ours won't do that. All right, I'll go ahead and tear that stuff apart now. Okay, so now I got that cover off. So you got these bolts right here that are holding the engine and the transmission together. You got a bolt here and here that's holding this part of the bracket into the engine. And then, I don't know if I got enough light on the other side. I'll go over here, see if we can see it. Yeah, it's kind of dark, so there's a bolt there, and behind this hose down here, pretty much the same kind of configuration as over there. There's 2 into the engine, 2 into the transmission bracket there. So what this does is in this area right here, this is going to install right there like that. So one of the things they say in the instruction is some of them come with these holes tapped, some of them don't. If they're not tapped, that you're going to need a bottom tap to tap those. And it has some short bolts in the package for those. And all of these other holes, these 4, you got one big one and you got these 3 small ones, those are set screws. So when that's on there like that, you see you'd be putting those set screws in there, and it's pushing there, and there. And let's see, what's this one push? Oh, this one's pushing right here, and this one's pushing right here. Plus the fact that the back of this thing is knurled. So you have this whole surface area running over all of this, and this area here, and this area right here, just trying to give that much more bite. So they send you some longer bolts to change these out. This doesn't add a lot of thickness. Well, I guess it's about 1/4 inch in that hole. So you put that in there, you gotta tap those. So I gotta go and dig out a tap, and we'll get into all that. Oh, and by the way, pulling that thing off, this was connected to the top of that cover also. And this is the other hose I wasn't thinking of. So this is a breather, it just goes up there and stops. This is the one that comes from up in the under the hood. And then this is the one that comes in through right here. There's all kinds of air getting in and out of that thing. So anyway, I will go find a tap. Hopefully I have the right one. And we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so right here and here are the holes that I need to drill out and tap. So I'm gonna measure the depth of this. This is 1975, and then on my drill bit I'm gonna measure 1975. See if I can get you in the picture here. There. So I'll measure back. No, that's right at, oh no it's not. Okay. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tape there. I don't want to go any deeper than the existing hole depth that's in there. I'm just trying to open it up a little bit for the tap. It's at like 9:30 seconds right now, and I gotta open it to an 11:30 seconds so that I can run the tap in there. So I ran in a little so far, so let's see here. Now the other thing is they tell you to upgrade to a 50mm bolt if you have to tap your holes. So it comes with the 40mm bolt. So that looks like pretty much what I would be drilling here if I go that deep. And then you got the thickness of the plate that you're adding. So that feels like it's solid, so I mean, I don't want to push it in there any farther than I have to. So I turn the compressor off. So I'm gonna go turn the compressor back on and get a flashlight to shine in there. Okay, so I'll blow this hole out here. Got that blown out, and then look in there and see how that looks. Well, yeah, I could go a little bit deeper. I mean, that's what the tape shows, but I would rather play it safe. So we'll just go in a little bit deeper. Alright, now we're up to the tape. Blow that off. Blow that out, and then do the same thing for this lower hole. See what the depth of that one is. So that one we have right around the same. Check it here on the tape. Yep. Same depth. Okay. So we'll drill that hole out a little bit. So a little tip, if you're doing drilling in aluminum, it's actually, it helps is you just break this tip off just a hair. Like if you were sharpening it and you're going to use it for aluminum, when you sharpen it, you know, it gets real sharp there, and then you just back sand it just a touch, because in aluminum it'll grab. Just try yanking it in there, and that's something that helps, something that a machinist at work told me about. So now where do they go? Okay, so I gotta tap a 10 1 2 5. So I bought this set here. So we got a taper, a plug, and a bottom tap. They tell you to tap it with a bottom tap, but a taper tap is always good for getting the threads started so that they're nice and straight. You got that nice lead in on it. So I'll go ahead and throw one in here and see how this works. Should go pretty easy tapping aluminum. Alright, you just want to keep it centered up in the hole there. This one won't go very far before it bottoms out in there. So a plug tap is in between the taper and the bottom tap. So what I noticed is in my area, the auto parts store and the hardware store both had just one tap, and it didn't say, it just said tap. Well, you look at it, it looked just like one that I had in my supply, which it's the plug tap. So I don't think the average Joe knows what a plug tap is. I'm sure there'll be some of you out there that do. So it's just right in between. Nobody in my town had a bottom tap. So I just ordered these off Amazon. Okay, so I can see I'm going to hit the frame down there, so I'm going to need to get a socket. So I'll just go ahead and finish this top one. So here's a closer look. So that's a a plug tap and see how it's different than the bottom tap. You get a little bit more thread. And here's the, oh, that's too much light there, isn't it? There, that's better. Okay, here's taper tap. There's plug tap. There's bottom tap. Don't hold me to these numbers, but something like the taper is like 5 to 6 on a taper tap, 3 to 4 on the plug tap, and 1 to 2 on the bottom tap, something like that, approximately. So that way you just sneak your way up on it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and run this in there, and then we will blow it all out. Find the socket that I can use for doing the bottom one, because this T-handle is not going to fit. Alright, so I'll get this done and I'll bring you back when I'm putting things together, because I don't think you're going to want to watch me turn this little screw all the way in here and back out, and then another one in and out, in and out. Alright, so we'll see you again here in a minute. Okay, so I had to get this big breaker bar here, which is, I don't know, about 30 inches long. Oh, that's cool. I just dropped that on my glasses. Okay, so my impact wouldn't bust that loose, which usually this thing does pretty good. So I had to use that breaker bar to bust that loose. So we have to take these ones out. And be careful, you don't want to create a whole bunch of heat in there. You don't want to ever do that with aluminum threads. So I'm just doing this so I don't have to unscrew a long-winded bolt. There you go. Okay, so get those out. Got a little bit of white on there, that's from the aluminum. Okay, so they tell you to put a little bit of grease on the threads. So I got a little grease on the threads, I got a little grease on the threads of all these set screws. So we're going to, and you see these holes are round and these holes are slotted, so that's where you get your adjustment, is out of the smaller ones. So I'll start that thread there. Oh, something I wanted to mention, if you have to tap these holes on these other ones, be sure you run your bolt in there before you go to put this all together, and make sure that you threaded it deep enough for that bolt to go tight, because I had that on one of mine. It wasn't down tight, so it would have stopped on the threads before it actually was pinching this plate all the way. It was real close, but it wasn't quite where it should have been. So that's something that you definitely want to check. Before you put this plate together. And just start everything by hand. You gotta be careful with aluminum threads. Get all these bolts in here. And then once you have all these bolts in here, that's when you can start your alignment. They tell you to snug them all up and then back them off just a hair. And when I say they, I'm talking about SDI, which is the company that makes this plate. So let's see here. Oh, that's right. So the bolts that come out are 15 millimeter, and the bolts that go back in are, let's see, I think they were 17 millimeter. Where did that one go? That's about right. It's not this one. Nope. Where did my 17 millimeter go? That's perfect. Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to get a different socket because this one's not going to go down into the recess of this thing. So I got to go see if I got a thinner socket here and a ratchet. So. Okay, so we'll just get these all snugged up. So you're going to do the set screws on there later. You don't want the set screw in the way, so make sure that they're not sticking out the back side. I just barely have them in there. On the video they said make sure they have the small ones flush and the big ones not more than, I think it was a 1/2 inch, but I'm just leaving them completely out of the way for the moment. I want to make sure that the bolts all get in there nice and snug. So okay, that one ran until it got tight, and that one, back all these off of here. Okay, so that plate can adjust, and then I'll have to go to the other side and loosen that. Put my little spacer tool on. Yeah, it needs just a hair. It's already better just loosening this. So, okay, I'll go over the other side and loosen those up. There's plenty of videos out there, but I guess I should go ahead and show you what we have on that side. So let's see if I can get this camera down in here. No, not there. Move it over here, maybe. Alright, and if you can see this, there's a bolt right there, and there's one down there, and then there's this one and this one. So you break all those free so that you can adjust it, and then you tighten this bottom one down here going into that engine first to 5 pounds, and then you adjust this one to, I believe it's 44, and then go back to that one and 44, and then you can go back to the other side and get those all set. So we'll get you back over here to this other side. Bang you all around everywhere. Okay, so I'll set you back up here. I'm gonna go over there and loosen those, and then we'll adjust this. Okay, I got the bolts tight on the other side, and I got this on here, and this here still turns freely. So now I can't find the bolt for this side. I mean, not the bolt, the socket. There it is. Okay. Alright, well, I do want to let you know that the getting the 2 bolts that go forward into the engine on the opposite side, not fun. No. There we go. Alright, so they say 50 pounds on this one. Turn this up a little because the other side was 44 pounds. So put this on here, and Tighten this all up. That still turns. So what I did is I took a socket and an extension, and I put a piece of wood underneath. I don't know if you can see it. I put a piece of wood underneath the engine right there, going through a hole on the bottom, and I got a jack under it. And that's how I raised it up until this bar would fit on here for the alignment. I'll go ahead and snug the top one. Still turn, yep. So when you're all done, you want to make sure that all this stuff, you know, you take this bar back off, put it back on, make sure it still fits when you're all done. If not, then something moved when you were tightening it. All these obstacles in the way are so much fun. Guess I don't need these glasses on. Hey, I can see as long as it's not close. Okay. Alright, there's one. There's two. Still spin. Yep, that still spins. Okay, now I'll torque these brand new ones that we put in. So SDI was saying in their video that Polaris calls for like 60 pounds on this, but they said not to go over 50 in their video. And I believe one of the reasons is SDI tells you to grease the threads, which reduces the torque required to stretch the bolt properly. So if you were to grease the bolt and you still went to 60 pounds, then the bolt would be over torqued then. So that still spins. So now I just gotta get that thing to come off. So there we go. So the bar is in the way to do the upper bolt there. So you gotta take that off to get to this one. Now SDI makes their own alignment tool. It's a very nice setup. Come on. This should be here. Click. There it is. Oh. Okay, so they make their own alignment tool. They have it specially machined. Fits on here and bolts on. Fits on here and bolts on. It sticks out of the ways. They have a bar that goes on the back, bar that goes on the front. So as far as getting your angles like this, I think it would be a little bit more accurate. But this here, because they got this machined on the taper and this is machined right there for that, so it come on now, this would be pretty damn close. It'll definitely have your spread, and it'll be because of the thickness of it. It'll be pretty close on the there we go. Just slides on just like that. That still spins. So if you had a 900, then this would come all the way flush. So they have the same taper, but I guess it starts a little bit smaller right there. So that's why this doesn't come on all the way. So that works for both machines. I kind of wish he made one that was for the 1000s and a different one for the others. But that's one more part you got to carry in your inventory. So I understand that. But anyway, that's on there nice and tight. The thing barely moves. This still spins. And I never really had an alignment issue as far as the belts being like this. That's always been fine. My only issue was they came together. So I'll go ahead and tighten these up. And in the SDI video, they say to torque these to 12 foot-pounds, and they did not mention what to torque this one to. So I guess I'll have to do some research on that one. But I'll go ahead and snug those up. Now I'm going to loosen this jack and check it again, make sure everything's in the right spot. So these set screws push in. They're pushing it on different parts of the case there also to give you a little bit extra bite and hold. So that is the purpose of these. Alright, got that one, that one, that one. Okay, now I just got to figure out what to tighten that other one to. I think for now, I will take it to this torque, which for a bigger screw seems weird, although maybe they want them all to be the same. Because if you were to torque it more than that, you would be digging into the aluminum. Oh, you know, now that I think about it, that's probably what they want them all at. That's probably why they said torque the set screws to 20 or 12 foot-pounds. Which for those I'm using a inch-pound torque wrench. So you gotta multiply by 12. So 12 times 12, so 144 foot-pounds torque to that. So that should be good still. Take this here, slide that on. That's still in line. Come on, get on there. What do we got going on here? Everything's clean. So that should just go right on there. And slide on that. There it goes. Okay, so I'll pull it back out a little bit. Slide that on until that goes to there. And then, like Todd at HunterWorks says, you just give that a little tap. That should be tight on there. It should be just past that there. And then I can still spin that, so that's it. All right, now I'll go ahead and lower this down, see if anything changes. Still spin. Oh yeah. Okay, looks like that's holding. It slides off and slides right back on. Still spins. Okay, so that means that's good. That is the magic spot. Okay, so hopefully with that thing on there, I'm not going to have to worry about these things ever moving again. So now you just want to make sure you blow out your exhaust and your intake and your other intake before you put your cover back on. These are the bolts for the cover. You got 3 on here, 3 around here, and there's 1 down here. That holds your back cover on. And then you can throw your clutches on. And I'm going to wait for a new belt because I have a belt that has about this much, that the threads on the side, you know how you could see that cord going around the belt? The threads on the side for about 4 inches are missing. And that belt only has 2 rides on it, so I'm not real happy about that. So it's not recommended to put a belt like that back on, so I'll go ahead and I'm gonna get a new belt again. A brand new belt on here, so now I got this holding it. I'll have that washer in there so I can't go too far. And then I'm gonna throw a brand new belt on, go through the whole break-in thing, and hopefully I'll have this thing dialed in as reliable as you can with a CVT. So, all right.